everybody, and welcome to episode number 2 of The Long and the Short of It. I am your host, Jennifer Wren. I am so happy to be here. Guys, it has been 1 week. I mean, one of my favorite podcasts, Love It or Leave It, always has this segment called What a Week. We're not going to do it because, man, it has been a week. But what we are going to do is I am going to go ahead and bring on my fantastic co-host, advanced sommelier, and a colleague of mine from the Gallo portfolio, the talented, the lovely Beth Hickey. Beth, how are you doing?
I'm great. How are you doing?
I am so good now that I am here with you and enjoying tonight. Man, we have such an incredible episode. We have such a treat with our special guest. I am blown away by this woman's talent. I mean, it is truly incredible. But before we get started, how is everything up in Seattle? I know that it's been the fire still burning a little bit. How's the week been up there? Good weather? What's up?
I saw Robin's Egg Blue Sky for the first time this week in maybe 2 weeks. It was amazing, thrilling. And today it was an utter downpour until maybe about 1 o'clock, and then the sun came out. So my favorite fashion season. So I'm thrilled. I'm in my happy place at this moment.
I have to say, Beth, you and I do always wind up talking about clothes. I mean, that's just the truth of the matter. I too, despite the fact that I am a warm weather person, I love fall fashion. And I miss leather jackets and I miss boots. I mean, we have a very small window of time here in LA when you can wear like a good solid leather boot. Because it's just, you just get like the sticky toes. It's not a thing. But man, I do miss visiting you up there in Seattle. It's one of my favorite towns in the US. So it'll be a good time when we get to get together in person again.
Right? Oh, soon, I hope. Well,
I know.
But in the meantime.
Yes, at least we get to come together tonight. We get to share a grape and a grain. Guys, if you did not see last week's episode, Beth's pairing of the Dalmore 12 and J Rosé was one of the single finest pairings I have experienced in my life. So I got bad news for you, Beth. You got a lot to live up to tonight because I mean, it was blow your socks off. So we gotta strap our socks on. But before we get to that, I am going to bring on our guest. I could not be more excited about this. So our guest tonight is magician Kayla Drescher. She is Los Angeles based. She is best known for using everyday objects in mind-blowing effects. I cannot wait to see what these everyday objects are. You may have seen her in one of her many TV appearances like Penn and Teller's Fool Us. Love those guys. Access Hollywood, I'm going to screw this up, Ventaneando. There we go, Ventaneando, which is Mexican's #1 TV program. I have not been able to watch this program in Mexico, but I'm going to check it out following this live cast. She has also appeared on the Today Show, where she was the famous David Copperfield's choice as the next great magician. And she has blessed us with her presence tonight. Kayla, how are you doing?
Hey, I'm well. How are you?
I'm so good.
Great.
So, Kayla, the idea behind this show was that, it's the long and the short of it. I'm the short shot of whiskey. Beth is the long, tall Sally glass of wine. And we always have this mystery third. And the goal was for this mystery third to bring something to a pairing that is completely outside the box. So something about the influence of the taste of what we're enjoying tonight. You are going to be bringing, I think, a magic trick?
That's the goal.
That's the goal.
Yeah.
Now, so the reason that I came to know about you and find you was because I have been long attending and a big fan of the Magic Castle here in LA. They are a huge supporter of the Dalmore single malt, and so I have a lot of friends. And I reached out to them, to the events director, Ben Roman, and I said, hey, I am looking for the coolest magician in LA. And he gave me your number. And I was quite honored to get it. But one of the things I discussed with Ben was that so many of the magicians at the castle obviously cannot perform in person. So you have all had to adapt to this format, this on-screen, close-up, kind of not really comfortable for everybody. What has that process been like for you?
Hard. There's like the short answer. The long and short of it. The short is hard, and the long is very hard. It basically, because magic is such a, at least the way I like to do it and the way I like to watch it, magic is so very interactive. So I like having a genuine connection with the audience. One thing that I think, at least, that I do well, one of my performing superpowers, is that I can respond dependent on what the audience gives me. So everything I do is set up so that the audience can give me what we call gifts. And it's this idea that I have no idea how an audience member is going to respond to a question or to a, can you do this thing? I don't know how they're going to respond to doing that thing. So that's really fun for me. And over Zoom, it's not so inviting into that. One thing is that you have to convince people, hey, just wake up from the couch. Thank you. We're here. And you can go to the restroom. It's totally fine. But if you could come back in soon, I'd love that. And also, please watch me, even though I'm on your screen, even though we can't actually have a good interaction. So it is really difficult to find that balance. Unfortunately, I don't know how to do it. I just try to do it the best I possibly can by responding. And I keep if it's on a Zoom or if it's on Facebook, I keep the comments up so I can respond to the comments. For better or for worse, that makes it at least fun for me. And hopefully different depending on each show. So even though I might do the same trick, the shows are all different. So it is pretty tough. A lot of magicians are kind of cranking out the Zoom shows, which is really exciting. But at the same time, I personally haven't seen one that I've super enjoyed yet. No offense to the magicians. It's just magic doesn't work so well like this. So it's just a lot of me talking and then presenting stuff. One thing I have done that's been really fun is I've been doing children's hospital shows. So I'm getting piped into, it's really, really cool. It's through a company called Win-Win Entertainment out of Las Vegas. I've worked with them a bunch before. And I'm just getting piped into the rooms of kids in a hospital. And although for me, it's really difficult because I'm just performing for my own face, which is boring for me, then it's at least hopefully it's fun for them. So that's been cool. That's been a thing, a technology advancement in the last couple of months that we didn't have before.
Yeah, I'd love to hear Beth's thoughts about this. I think one of the things that a lot of us that are in hospitality are really missing is exactly the same thing that you're talking about. When I'm giving a whiskey tasting, it's almost like being a stand-up comedian. There's patter, there's structure, there's a thesis, there's education happening at the same time. But so much of what I do is I read the room and I can really get a feeling from the people. Are you bored? Are you interested? Do you really want to talk for 25 minutes about still shapes, or would you rather move on? So it's very similar for me. I mean, Beth, I've collaborated with you on several tastings that aren't the long and the short of it. And I'm curious, what do you think? Do you miss that feeling of walking in and presenting a wine? How is that translating for you on Zoom?
I mean, I miss it. I have 20 years on the floor, and I am an introvert by heart, but I am an extrovert when it comes to presenting beverages. And I really love that performance and that engaging and having my one-liners. And I enjoy that. That brings me immense. I'm so grateful to be able to do that. I have found that pivoting to virtual, it's not quite the same, but I've been doing a series of events up here called Spirit of Community. And what I have found is that because we have repeat people participating, is that I can see the same faces on Zoom. And we have the comments open. You can see my matrix screen. You can see my back there. This, by the way, is the Sleepy Hollow Vineyard, which is the vineyard that's coming from. I don't have the fancy green screen that Jen has. I'll work on it.
I don't know how fancy it is. We're having some shadow issues tonight. So.
That's true. I don't know, but I'm like, you can see them. Anyways, but I have found that, actually, this goes to the point I'm about to make. You'll see the same people. And we have the comments open, and you get you start to get a sense of everyone's personality with the comments that they make, and they start making jokes with each other. So we've created this community, and it's been really wonderful. I have found that little things like this, where it's not perfect, that humanizes it, and it makes it, we actually kind of go beyond this virtual. It's like, oh, that's human. Like, that's not all, perfect. And that has really, it's not slick. you know.
Yeah.
It's 2020. We're all just navigating it and MacGyvering it, to show my age, with Richard Dean Anderson, by the way. It's like we're just figuring it out. And I think that brings the humanity into this virtual world. And I think that's crucial. So I'm going to keep my window thing going on there.
Man, I love that, Beth. And so the joke is earlier, before you hopped on, Kayla, I actually sent Beth a screenshot of what I'm looking at right now, my setup for you guys. And it's put together with like puzzle boxes, Band-Aids. I mean, it's the worst version of MacGyvering, like ring lights. But one of the biggest challenges I faced, and I'm not sure, Kayla, when you are doing these online performances, are you running, in essence, the Zoom, or do you have someone running it for you?
Because I'm not doing this at like a significant capacity. So if I were selling tickets or any of that, yeah, I'd probably bring on someone to do the tech. So mainly it's just me. And so that's been kind of a weird thing to adjust to, because some of my tech I can run myself. So like magicians we have systems where we can queue up our music just from our pocket, either from a remote control, or there's this really cool one that I love that it's a magnet, and you just wear like a magnet in a bracelet or a ring or something, and then you just swipe your hand next to it and it will play the track. It's really cool. I love it.
You're already telling us secrets. Is that okay that you're telling us secrets?
It's not even the trick. It's just to hit play on a song. So it's not
that's
really.
really impressive technology, honestly.
It's really fun. Yep,
Well,
it's cool. So yeah, it's one thing that I've had to kind of adjust to is, so we've been teaching a lot of magic over Zoom, which has been awesome. We have a bunch of classes running, and I have a lot of students that I'm teaching one-on-one. And when I have a class of 12 people in a room, especially kids, that's the one where you're like, please, you have to hold their attention in a way that you've never had to hold people's attentions before. And so that's the one where, like, now we've got, a wireless mouse and keyboard. So the screen's a little bit further away, so I can do fancy things while I don't have to reach forward and do stuff. So you kind of slowly accumulate a setup over a while. So now I have like a phone stand if I want to do a zoom in on my hands or all this stuff. So it's just you slowly figure it out, because you watch it back. Magicians, like comedians and other performers, as you know from being a performer, is that we will film ourselves and watch it back. And so if I watch back a segment and I go, oh my God, what was I doing there? I can't see anything I'm doing, Kayla. And so that's been really helpful.
I have to reflect that back at you, because when this whole thing first started, I basically had like a little camera on a table, and now I have a TV studio. It's like I just kept acquiring equipment piece by piece. Now, I had a funny story to tell. I always try to save it for the live cast. I'm having a problem with having appropriate shirts to wear for Zooms. And I don't mean like they're inappropriate, but just there's a certain thing that looks good and doesn't look good. It's like certain shapes and stuff. So I was out shopping this past week, decided to pick up some shirts, and I just found the shirt. It was so beautiful. It's like silk, and it has like these cap sleeves, like puffy princess sleeves, and just like gorgeous. Like the color is like, and I put it on, and I walked back here tonight to see how it was going to look on camera, and it was the exact color of the green screen. I had not even, so I was a floating head. So I had to scramble right before we were going on tonight to be like, what shirt am I wearing? And these like total Zoom problems, but this is just the truth of life as we are living it right now. So I have one more question for you, Kayla, before we launch into our tasting. And the question was, you and I had talked when we first met over Zoom, a little bit about hair dyeing. So last week, the conversation was, is lipstick dead? And of course, Beth said no. And Amira said no, because we have to do things like this. But my next question is, I keep encountering all these folks that I've known for years, very, very, I'd say conservative in their look. And all of a sudden I'll hop on a Zoom and this person has blue hair. And it seems like this time in the quarantine has given us permission to look crazy, to be crazy, to try all this stuff. So my question to you, Kayla, my question to you, Beth, what was the color you wanted to dye your hair? Did you take the plunge? Did you do overtone? Did you go the full throttle? I mean, I know you have your warrior hair over there, Beth. So just curious, Kayla, did you go for blue, pink, anything?
I mean, so all I ever want in my life is to have blue hair. That's just been like a goal forever. My cousin, who I'm very close with, she is a really amazing hairstylist, owns her own salon in Connecticut. Like she knows everything, master colorist, all the things you would be impressed by even if you didn't know what she was talking about, which I don't. And so I will call her and go, is today the day I can dye my hair blue? And before I even finish the sentence, it's a hard no. So I know I should really just do it and say, ha ha ha, but then I'd get in a lot of trouble with my family being her. I have naturally incredibly curly hair. It is big and poofy. And right now about half my hair is curly and the other half is chemically straightened. And so I'm enjoying posting the progression of my curly haired roots on Instagram, because right now my hair is very confused about who it is. And it's kind of a fun thing to see.
So this is the second time curly hair's come up on the live cast. I think we have a theme here. I have not met a curly haired person. Well, maybe I have not met a curly haired female identified person that has not at one time chemically straightened their hair. And I have. I mean, I think everybody has. I used to do the crazy Brazilian straightening stuff that probably is going to give me cancer. I have no idea. But this is so I don't typically wear my hair curly. That's one of the themes of the live cast. It's like show your freak flag. But I want to jump back for a second to my musical theater roots. There is a song, which was I believe it was written by Joe Iconis, called Blue Hair. And it's about a teenage girl stuck at home who dyes her hair blue. And I got to find it. I'll have to send it to you following the live cast. But we are at the 6:20 witching hour, which makes me think that the people out there watching in YouTube land might want to actually find out what we are tasting tonight, because we have some really beautiful bottles next to us, guys. And I have to say, for my part, when we talk about the Dalmore, like the 12, 15, 18, cigar malt and portwood, we're going to be going through all of that over the weeks. We call it the Principal Collection. And the one that we were trying tonight is my absolute personal favorite of the Principal Collection. And it is such a pleasure to share it tonight with Beth and Kayla. I hope you guys love it as much as I do. So for those of you who have seen me talk about the Dalmore or who watched our episode last week, one of the things that we are most famous for at the Dalmore is this additional maturation, that this is exceptional second cask maturation. And a lot of the work we do is with rare and unbelievably fine sherry casks. And if you guys remember from last week, that's because when the McKinsey brothers purchased our distillery in 1867, they were already doing a ton of business in Jerez de la Frontera, Spain. And in Jerez, there was an amazing bodega. I have been there. I was trained on sherry there, called González Pies. And they supply, first of all of our 30-year-old Methuselah Oloroso casks, so Oloroso sherry. But in this particular expression, they're also supplying us other sherries that they make at the bodega. And my God, if we ever get to go back to Spain, I could not recommend visiting it higher. They are the creators of Tío Pepe, the #1 selling Pinot sherry in the world. The grounds are lusciously beautiful and everything you would expect from southern Spain. So I want you guys to, while I'm talking, hold cold, beautiful, elegant Scotland in one hand and hold warm, humid, southern, romantic Spain in the other, because that's what we're about to try. So tonight we are featuring the Dalmore 15. Now remember, whenever I say 15, 15 is the age of the whiskey, but it's also the youngest whiskey in the bottle. So this bottle might contain 16 years old, 17 years old, 19 years old, for all we know. But this is our goddess in green. By the way, that's what inspired me to wear the green shirt tonight, was the green bottle and the green packaging. And then I was like, oh gosh, I'm just tortured now. I'm a floating head. But this beautiful whiskey, for those of you who enjoy whiskey, enjoy single malt, starts its life, like all of the Dalmore, in ex-bourbon American oak. So as I like to say, that is American wood, American white oak. Bourbon was put into it, bourbon was taken out of it, and then we flat packed it and shot it across the Atlantic and sent it up to us. We like to use ex-bourbon because it is tempered down a lot of the really aggressive tannins or a lot of the big vanillas that you would find in a virgin oak cask. So ex-bourbon is our preferential barrel to start our life in. So this beautiful whiskey spends the first 12 years of its life in that ex-bourbon cask. But this is why it gets a little complicated, guys. It's complicated whiskey tonight. You got to bear with me for a second. We take that liquid from the ex-bourbon cask and we divide it into 3 even parts. Now, it always makes me think of 33 and a third records because it's literally like boom, 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 up to 100%. Now, the first cask is going to go into that aforementioned Methuselah brand, Solera level Oloroso sherry. Okay, and break that down just for 1 second. So Methuselah is actually the name of the sherry that the bodega makes. Oloroso is the style of the sherry. It's an oxidative style. It's going to be very rich. It's going to be very sweet. And then it is pulled from 30-year-old casks that exist at the bottom of the Solera system, the system by which sherry makers age their sherry. Okay, so break that down just a little bit. So that's our first cask tonight. And I want you guys to think of like dark chocolate, acidic notes, right? So all that stuff that's already present in the Dalmore, like the chocolate and orange notes, this is going to boost that chocolate. It's going to give it a little bit of that. It's also a very dry sherry. So imagine dry, acidic, dark chocolate. The second of the three casks is Apollo Cortado. The brand is Apostles, also a label, a brand from González Díaz. Now, what makes this Apollo Cortado different? Well, unlike the Oloroso, it's going to be dry, but it's going to have spice and it's going to have a little bit of nuttiness. Now, ladies, I do encourage you while I'm talking to go ahead and sniff and sip your glass because I want you to see if you can catch some of that nuttiness. Some people call it almond. Some people call it a little bit of peanut brittle. Some people call it like a sweetened marzipan candy, but the nuttiness is there. And then last but not least, my favorite cask, just on principle, is the Amoroso, which is the sherry of love. And why is it called Amoroso, the sherry of love? Well, the famous story, and we like stories in our single malt and in our sherry, is that gentlemen that were coming home from work would stop by a sherry bodega and purchase a bottle to bring home to drink with dinner with their wife. And the women of the time decided to start preferring these very sweet sherries. We're talking like super sweet dessert sherries. So this style of sherry became very popular and was associated with a bottle that you are bringing home to your love. Thus, Amoroso, the sherry of love. So I want you to keep in mind that this third sherry is exceptionally sweet. And the best way to think about the Dalmore 15-year-old is the 12 years next bourbon and then 3 years divided into 3 casks. The Methuselah Oloroso, the Apostles Palo Cortado, and the Amoroso, all from González Díaz Bodega in Jerez de la Frontera. Now, once we've finished that additional 3-year maturation, we bring all of those beautiful liquids that have been in the sherries back together into an upright sherry butt. Yes, it's called a butt. I like big butts and I cannot lie. And we let it hang out there and fall back in love before we put it into this green bottle that fortunately is not the same color green as the thing behind me. Now, Beth, I feel like this week for you, this was a throwdown. Because this particular whiskey is so nuanced, it's so complex, it's so layered, there's so many things going on that this was a real challenge for you. And we talked about this. We have another big challenge coming up for you when we do the King Alexander. That's also a super nuanced whiskey. So tonight, what is this stunning red that Kayla and I are enjoying?
So I went with the Talbot Pinot Noir from the Sleepy Hollow Vineyard. For me, the bridge to the 15-year and the Talbot Pinot Noir is the master distiller for Dalmore pairs the 15-year with Chicken Provençal. What from my portfolio would I pair with Chicken Provençal that is not our beautiful rosé, which would be great, but something that would hold its own in this knockout, drag out fight we're about to have right now, beautiful pairing, is the Talbot Pinot Noir from as in Sleepy Hollow. So we have the 14 vintage in front of us. And I always think of the Dalmore 15 as I think about those 3s. And I think about this wine as 3 as well. So to back up a little bit, Talbot was founded in 1972 by Robert Talbot, from the Talbot clothes store, actually. It's that family. Yeah.
Every day is a school day, Beth.
I actually bought a vintage Talbot piece of clothing yesterday that was designed by Givenchy. So it's bringing together my fashion and my Talbot. And I love the sartorial nod. But anyways, I digress. So Talbot Vineyards, 1972. It's down in the Santa Lucia Highlands. So you think Carmel, you're down in that part of California. And it's right off of the Monterey Bay. So it's really, it's 13 miles, the vineyard is 13 miles off of the bay. And it's just a really exquisite, as you can see, part of the world. So the vineyard itself gets a lot of morning light. So you have a long hang time for the grapes. They develop a lot of physiological ripeness, but they're bathed in fog and that cool coastal maritime climate. It's actually a Winkler 1 on the scale, which you're looking at Champagne, Chablis, parts of the Russian River Valley. So just think like a cooler climate, even though you're in California. It's an extraordinary place. So you get these cool winds coming off from this very deep bay. Some of the winds can be a little bit, forceful. So long hang time with the sun, that cool wind, it helps to keep the acid levels high. So you get a rich fruit profile, very nuanced fruit profile. Pinot Noir for me is always summer fruits like raspberries and cherries and strawberries. This is on the darker scale just because it gets so ripe. But that cool influence of the bay keeps the acidity high. It's also on a very special soil that I have this incredibly amazing bottle of. It's Schuarler, I cannot talk. It's a loam soil. That it also helps to keep the acidity high for the grapes. So you have this aspect of the ripe fruit, that's one, the cool influence of Monterey Bay two. And the third part is that because the fruit is so extraordinary, they use a maximum 30% new French oak and just for 10 months. So the fruit is framed by the sweet baking spices of the oak, but it doesn't overpower. So I think about this wine as being in 3. So what's unique about this particular vintage is that it was a really just very even vintage, not too hot, not too cold. It's just kind of ideal. And 50% of the grapes come from vineyards that were planted in 72, and 50% come from grapes that are just about 15 to 20 years. So you have a nice range. So it's a complex wine. It's going to play, that fruit is going to play off the fruit in the Dalmore 15. The acid will play off the acid in the Dalmore 15. The Dalmore 15 to me has a bright, nuanced mid palate.
Yes.
That makes it really nimble and exciting. And you're trying to like figure out what's going on in the most delicious way. And as the Talbot sits here, I feel that it has this really nuanced mid palate that you're trying to like, there's a lot going on. Like, what fruit am I tasting at this moment? What's the baking spice? So that is what I've brought to the table. So as it's a 14, it's been in bottle for 6 years now, which is crazy. It's 2020. So that's my pairing for tonight.
I mean, it's fantastic, Beth. I mean, again, you are knocking it out of the ballpark. And I think before I'm very careful with saying what I'm tasting, because there's always that thing that I will influence you. I will say strawberries and you smell strawberries. But I think what's so interesting about this is, again, this issue that we've talked about. This is a 40% ABV whiskey. And when you're pairing it with a lower ABV wine, there's this concern constantly that it's going to overpower. But again, they're playing with each other. They're having a conversation. Mm-hmm. So, on that note, Kayla, I know you are not a spirits professional, and quite honestly, that's why you're here. We did not want another spirits professional. What are you tasting? What are you smelling? Are you getting something from the wine and the spirit?
I'm tasting goodness.
that is a formal word. Goodness.
Thank you. I coined it myself. I'll be completely honest with you. I have both a terrible taste and a terrible sense of smell. So I don't have a very refined, like I can't taste the difference between waters. All I know is what makes me happy. And
who is making you sample waters?
Listen. Let me talk to you about Zac Efron's new Netflix show. Oh. There's an episode in there where they go through and taste the difference of waters. It's a thing people do as like a profession.
It is. And as a sommelier, I am expected to have a working knowledge of various bottled waters and the amount of just, harder or softer or whatnot, what's crisper, what's going to be a little bit heavier. So it is, absolutely.
I guess I have to cop to this too. This is the thing in whiskey. A lot of people, want very badly to drink water from the source the whiskey is made. A lot of people have issues if a water is too hard, it's going to influence the flavor. So everyone here is a water nerd. So just
Yeah,
water nerd all the way. But I'm like, who would ask a lay person to sit there and just like sample it?
I've been to strange places.
Yes, ma'am, you have
done fun things. I always just, my judge is, would I order this again? And I am both a fan of wine and a fan of whiskey. And so the fact that having these, this is, if I may demonstrate my happy.
Yes.
And if I just sit here like this, I know I want to order it again. And that happened both times. So I love, although I can't like describe the taste I'm getting, what I know is that I would definitely order this drink again. I would order it for friends. I would buy a bottle. Like, I'm really liking the two together. I don't feel like there's a weird issue going on in my mouth. I like both of them together. That was a weird sentence. I'm a fan of both of these and I want them again.
So basically you're saying you didn't get weird toothpaste and like milk flavors. This is a good thing.
No, not yet. No, not like with the, I haven't eaten dinner, so maybe then,
Right.
But like for these, no, these are great. And I really like the combination together. It made me very happy.
Awesome.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
One moment. I'm going to get in there. I think this is a good point to say that wine and spirits, it's a beautiful rabbit hole of knowledge, and it's such to enjoy it, it's wonderful. But at the end of the day, it's a fermented grain product. So as a wine professional, and I also sell spirits, but by heart, by training, I'm a somm. At the end of the day, it's a fermented grape product. And to remember that, so I don't take myself too seriously, because it's something that is meant to, like, you were happy. That is exactly, like, that is my end result. That's why I've gone through so much training, is to be able to make people happy. So I think that's an important, like, don't take it too seriously, like, know as much as you can because you're fascinated by it, but take the ego and attitude out.
Also, to chime off of like being a magician, it's kind of the same thing, is that no one has any idea that what has gone into making a routine be good. And it's been years and years of training, sleight of hand and theater and all of that stuff. And so I get it, is like, you might not understand why you enjoyed it. You enjoyed it and want more, but you have no idea the work that went into developing something that is worth somebody's time and energy. And so I'm with you 100%, is like, any magic I would show you would just be, you'd go, that's fun, and have no idea how long it took to make that happen.
I mean, I love that. And I'm sorry I cut you off earlier, Beth. It is, I think I just concur so much with both of what you just said. And to reiterate what Beth said, anybody can taste and smell. There is work that goes into becoming nuanced at it. And there's work that goes into developing a palate, but at the end of the day, we are all born with the same noses and mouths and the capability of tasting everything. And then the second thing is, yes, I mean, I think that so much of what I do, and so much of even the show, is like making people happy and being like, for this 1 hour, you can watch these like two zany people and an amazing guest have a good time together. Because that's really what spirits and wine is about. It's celebration and it's joy. And Lord knows we could use some celebration and joy in the world right now. Well, I am going to impose myself, and I'm going to say the thing that I'm picking up between these two, especially on the aroma, what a gift it has been to do this. And I encourage ladies or anyone watching at home, really bring them both up to your nose, open up that mouth, breathe in through your nose, out through your mouth. I'm getting two distinct flavors, two distinct aromas. And one is the reiteration of the chocolate. It's bouncing between the whiskey and the wine. And then secondarily, very, very clear, like dark cherry, like ripe, dark red cherry, which is something I actually haven't had in a long time because I'm allergic to them, but I do remember what they tasted like when I did have them. And again, just this conversation that just keeps happening between these two. So before we showcase the talented Kayla Drescher's pairing, let's try that again.
That counts. It counts.
Maybe you're doing a watercolor, who knows? But I just want to reiterate for anyone watching, we are tonight, and we will in every one of these shows, mix the grape and grain. We are 3 of drinking age adults in our own homes. We are drinking safely, and we are not driving tonight. So please, if you're imbibing along with us, I take this very seriously. Make sure that you are enjoying our wines and our spirits safely, because safety is the way to be. Now, on that note, I am going to spotlight the incredible Kayla Drescher. I cannot even wait for this. So Kayla, please show us what you got.
Okay, so I would like to pair what I do, magic, with it's actually magic and science they're kind of this really interesting relationship. So as we went through and you were talking about oak barrels and aging and the grapes having more time in the sun, it's all science-based, right? It's like I don't know so much about the things you said, but magic is very sciencey. We are literally working to defy all laws of science. So I want to start with kind of talking today about a classic illusion of magic, which is that illusion where a magician saws someone in half. So you know what I'm talking about, yeah? Mm-hmm. Okay, good. But I'm again in my home and I don't have that illusion anyway. So we're gonna make this to a much smaller and safer scale. So where the person to be played comes in, I have just grabbed a random bottle here from my tiny little collection. And then we're going to use, this will be the person, and the blade of steel will be this rubber band. I get very excited about
I'm very excited.
Unnecessarily enthusiastic. So what's going to happen is this rubber band, like the blade of steel, is going to go straight through the neck of the bottle. So what's going to happen is you'll kind of see some pressure, and then the rubber band will go straight through like the blade through the person. So it will look like this. 1, 2, 3. Magic. No, don't clap. No, sorry, that wasn't it. That's terrible. That was obviously I cheated and went over the top. Sorry, confusion. Here, we'll make this just in case. I want to make sure you know that I'm not cheating. So I'm gonna do you know what? Let me see. Can I get a hand? Oh, okay. Hand. So the hand will not let me go over or underneath the bottle. The rubber band will have to go straight through. And the amazing saw a person in half illusion. 1, 2, let me go over, very good. 2, 3. And that's when you can see the rubber band has actually gone straight through the bottle.
That's fantastic.
Thank you. Okay, so I mentioned that magic is science and science is magic and also not. So I want to explain to you how this is done because we're going to use some mathematical principles. For this though, I can send away the hand. Thanks. Great. So basically what happens is a rubber band, when you insert its diameter measurements into a Turing machine, because it's basically a fractal, right? So it repeats over and over. And then when you have a coalition of friction, like a Y variable, which would be the power of the friction from the actual glass bottle, I just realized that what I just said sounded like what you guys were saying when you were talking about all your expert whiskey. And I didn't understand myself. So let's hear. A better way to explain this is that for a very split second, and it's much too fast for us to see, is that when the rubber band has friction from the bottle, the rubber band actually very quickly turns invisible, which makes it flexible enough to go straight through a solid object like the bottle, and then it's visible again. It's like Casper, the friendly ghost, you know, when you go through walls? Mm-hmm. That's it. That's how it's done. Wow. Beth is like, no, that's not accurate at all. I don't believe you.
I'm just so charmed right now. This is fantastic.
This is amazing.
I like also watching both of your faces, and one of you is like, just yes, all that's right, and one of you is like, no. So let's just make sure. I'll actually slow it down. I'll attempt to at least slow down the invisibility, so you'll be able to see it. So I'll start from where we left off. You can see the rubber band is around the bottle, and hopefully, with adding in a lot more friction, we'll be able to slow down that invisibility just a touch, so you ideally can catch it. Can you not see it? Right? And then it passes through the bottle because it's invisible, it can. And you see, even though it's you can't see it, but it's still there. It's still the elasticity property. It still stretches. We'll turn it back visible though. You can examine the rubber band, no cuts, no breaks. You can examine the bottle, nothing tricky there. And that's the amazing saw person and half illusion.
Oh, that was,
oh my God.
I'm just such a nerd for magic. It just really, really makes me so happy. I love the showmanship of it. I love the patter.
Yeah.
I am going to ask a favor. Oh, you know what? I just noticed, Kayla, you are wearing the Dalmore caber face stag. Thank you. That was such a sweet thing I just noticed that little detail. Thank you for representing for us.
I got really excited to have this glass and this pin. When you dropped off this pairing, I was like, hello, that will be part of that evening, won't it? And I'm very happy.
I'm so grateful. It's a shame that Talbot doesn't have a Talbot pin. Maybe they do at the vineyard. Maybe. So I actually have a question for you, because here at the long and the short of it, we not only celebrate our whiskey and the wine that we're showcasing, but I'm just curious, what was that? Was that Connemara? What was the bottle that you just pulled out?
Glen Scotia.
Glen Scotia! Yay! A fantastic distillery, amazing people. So cheers to Glen Scotia. Thank you for making an appearance tonight on the long and the short of it. I have friends everywhere in Scotland, so I celebrate them all. Okay, man, Kayla, that was a lot of fun. And I think that one of the cool things here is this idea of doing close-up magic, because it is a very specific and very difficult thing to do. You don't have a lot of places to hide. And I've seen some incredible close-up magicians at the castle. And I just want to ask you a couple questions kind of about your maybe upcoming projects or what you're doing. But one of the things I wanted to ask you, and please correct me if I'm wrong, I think that you told me you had not only obviously performed at the castle, but you have also bartended and done close-up magic. Is that correct?
Yeah, so no, you're totally correct. So I have performed in 3 different showrooms at the Magic Castle. I first performed there 6 years ago, and so I'm there maybe 4 times a year on most non-pandemic times. So yeah, it's the Magic Castle is the best place to perform in the world, because the audiences just love you and you have to do no work to make them love you. Whereas performing in most other places, you have to train yourself in order to get people on your side really quickly. So it becomes really spoiling to do a week, because if you're performing in any room at the castle, you're doing 3 or 4 shows a night for 7 days straight. So you are performing a lot. And then when you're done and you have to go back to the real world and perform for like a normal audience, it's kind of sad, because you're like, oh, that's right, you don't love me just for existing. So the castle is amazing, and I love performing there, and I look forward to getting back at some point. And then so actually the thing that most people in magic know me for, outside of the accolades you mentioned in the intro, is that I specialize in bar magic. So what
I did not, okay, audience, I did not know this when we booked Kayla. I had no idea. This is such an incredible gift, because, you know, Kayla, you probably know this. In the bar world, there's a whole separate category called flair, and it's bar tricks. Like, think cocktail. I mean, that's a terrible example, but bar tricks, right? So you have a whole different kind of bar trick.
Yeah, you're exactly right. So when I first had graduated college and I had not intended to do magic as a profession, I ended up I quit like the job that I was in that I wasn't enjoying. I decided to become a bartender, and I mean, I was a fine bartender, but certainly like not well educated. I just happened to get lucky with working in a Marriott hotel in northern Boston, and it was amazing. And what ended up progressing over the 3 years I worked there was I just would casually do magic for guests, and then it turned into a show, And then it turned into people coming to the bar in the hotel to see a show. And it ended up being a thing where managers and other bartenders and everyone had to support, like they were really great. They chose to support the show because people were coming into that bar from around Boston to see magic. And it just blossomed into that. So I was performing 4 or 5 nights a week doing 8-hour shifts. And 4 of those hours would be bartending, serving food. Everything takes a quick pause. I do a show, step down, go again. And so it was this amazing, and I didn't invent, this is not an industry or a space I invented. Bar magic has been around for a really long time. It was invented by a guy named Matt Schulian in Chicago a long time ago. So it's just been a thing that not a lot of people do because, in my opinion, I think it's the hardest place to perform. And as you can probably guess, because of, alcohol and people don't drink responsibly, you have to, as bartenders, you have to know how to manage that. Well, if you're a bartender and you're trying to do a show, you have to manage everybody twice over. So it becomes really difficult because people want to interject in the show and people want to participate in the show, but grab things out of your hands or things like that. So it does become, it's a really tricky place to perform, but also it's not a cut and dry industry. It's not, there aren't books on how to do it correctly. It's really difficult. So I actually have a lecture that I lecture to magicians, which is all about doing bar magic, how to set up your bar, how to get a job, but then also the biggest thing, which is how to gain more money and tips as a performer. So I do an entire half of a lecture, a whole hour on just getting more tips. So it's actually really cool because that was my Into the Magic Castle, is I got booked as a bar performer there. And then I've done, there's a venue in Encino, California called Magic Bar. So I was one of the first people at that space. I opened the Chicago Magic Lounge as the bar magician in their grand opening weekend. So it's kind of like my thing. And I wish I did it more. I just have other things going on professionally, which are awesome. But I love doing bar magic. It's really fun to dive back into that pool because it's just not something people see every day.
This is incredible. I mean, I would think the biggest challenge with bar magic would be like spilling lemon juice, and then you're not only acidic but you're also sticky at the same time, and trying to hide all the fruit from the people watching. No, I sincerely hope, Kayla, that when the world opens back up and Beth and I are able to do in-person events again, that we have the opportunity to bring you on to do some bar magic, because that would be just delightful. I mean, can you imagine, Beth, if we're like
sold. Mm-hmm.
I mean, hiding wine in places. I mean, it just sounds like the most fun I can possibly imagine. So we're running. I'm going to just be liberal tonight and say we're going to run a little late because there's a couple more things I want to tackle, and we only have 9 minutes. But I wanted to bring up too, Kayla. You actually have been spearheading a podcast in the magic space called Shezam. You said this is your 3rd year running. I would love to hear a little bit about that.
Yeah, so Shezam, which is, it's spelled Shazam, but S-H-E, so you can kind of get where maybe this is going, is that Shezam was born out of sort of this necessity and the lack of conversation around women in the magic community, and also what we call allied arts. So juggling, circus, any sort of kind of variety act performer. So it mainly has been about magic, but that started branching off in the last chunk of time. And so it was born out of the frustrations I had been experiencing as a female identifying person, where we're a very large minority in magic. It's estimated that 7% of people who call themselves magicians, which is from the hobbyist to the professional, they're 7% are women, and 2% of professional magicians are women. So it's a very small number. It's very comparable to poker, to movie directors, film directors. So it's a tough percentage to be a part of. And so there's just so much happening in magic. Magic for centuries has been written by and for men. Because, and logically, if you create a trick, but it's specific to how a masculine male dresses, or how a masculine male stands with like a hand in the pocket, it's very much along those lines, and you're kind of breeding those kinds of performers, which means that anyone who's not one of those kinds of performers has a difficult time finding material if you're not an inventor. I'm not an inventor. So it was very tricky for me in, my first 10 years of magic to find magic that was good, because it was all very masculine. So I ended up being more masculine than I would have wanted to be naturally as per my persona on stage. So, and that's just like a small portion of it. Many women quit in their first about 2 years of doing magic. There are a lot of reasons for that. And then there's also just a mindset in the magic community that women are very much meant to be the ones sawed in half. Women are very much meant to be very sexy on stage. And so there's a lot of issue surrounding that. And so it was just time that a resource was born to have these difficult conversations. And so my friend Carissa and I, we started the podcast 3 years ago. It's just me now, but we're about to launch our 3rd season. We have some really amazing guests coming on, but the topics have now started branching into not just issues surrounding women, but issues surrounding race, cultural appropriation, homophobia, all of that still within the magic community. So I'm really proud of everything we've done. It's pretty awesome. I don't know how to run a podcast, so I've had to learn that, but that's much like magic. Who knows how to do that either? So it's a fun experiment, and it's a great adventure. Very proud of the change we've created in the magic community, and more has to come, but that's what this podcast is here for. And we're the only one of its kind. So I'm very proud of its existence.
I love all of this. I think that there's something that there's a zeitgeist that's happening right now. In the whiskey industry, we are experiencing some turmoil and change, I do believe, for the better when it comes to diverse representation. I myself, this is going to make you laugh, Kayla. I founded a company way back in 2014 called Worski. And the joke was whiskey is his, but Worski is hers. I love a good dad pun, and I think, Beth, the same is for you. I think the wine industry is really beginning to open up in a big, beautiful way around gender inclusivity, racial inclusivity, and I think this is all for good. But Beth, to echo, are you seeing these same kinds of tides that are moving forward in your corner of the world?
Absolutely. I think a couple of years ago, you started to see women feeling empowered to speak up about maybe the lack of mentorship in the sommelier community, and just the lack of, just women just trying to get along and just follow the what everyone else is doing, but maybe not taking a moment to celebrate each other and to just network and realize that there's strength in numbers in the community that we have. There's been change there. And then most recently, and I think most impactfully, is that there's change in seeing just to be more inclusive with everyone, to celebrate the wineries where you have, everyone, to not the Black owned wineries where it's they're making amazing wine. Let's oh my gosh, let's support them. Let's bring everyone in under this umbrella. And it's really been amazing, and it's really exciting. And I'm just thrilled to see it. I don't know. It's a very cool. So everything you're talking about, at the moment, I don't have much more to add, because I could say, yes, it's happening to us as well. I think it's happening to us en masse and within every community. And it's about time. It's way past time. It's way, 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 way past time. So it's a very exciting moment. I hope for the young sommeliers that are coming up, that they're seen for their talents. And doesn't matter what they look like, but it's their talents and their dedication to their craft. That's the most important thing.
Man, I love that. I think that's across the board. I think every person in this room right now has had an intense dedication to what we do, and may that always be the discerning factor when people are granted opportunities. So the reason we're running a little long tonight is I got started a hair late. I was having some Zoom issues. But I also asked Kayla, despite the fact that she's already presented one trick to us, if she would humor me and do one more trick for the long and short of it. So before we do that, I just want to make sure that you guys are aware. You can follow me at @BJenniferWren. You can follow Beth at @DumSpiroSpirovino. And of course, you can follow the talented Kayla Drescher at Whiskey. I just said whiskey. I apologize.
It's fine.
Magic in Heels, not Whiskey in Heels, although Whiskey in Heels is amazing. Magic in Heels. You can also follow Kayla at Shezam Pod. Is that accurate? Yes.
Got it.
And I think I'm going to kick it back to you for just a second to see this next trick. I'm going to spotlight your video and pour myself one more glass of this incredible Talbot Sleepy Hollow Pinot Noir. And since we are moving into Halloween season, Sleepy Hollow, I know it's not the New York one, but it just feels right.
It does. It does.
I really agree.
Okay, Ms. Drescher. Let's see what you got.
Okay, cool. So as I mentioned, I did study environmental science. That was my intended career. And I had built a little remote control car powered on water and solar. I was really cool. And it totally made it halfway across the classroom before dying. So really nailed it. And very excited. Also, I got really pumped the other day because Airbus has released a plan for a hydrogen fuel cell powered plane. I was like, finally vindicated. That's a personal thing. Anyway, moving along. I'm going to use the wine glass. I don't know if this is a good wine glass, but I drink all of my wine out of tiny mason jars because it makes me feel like I don't know what I'm doing. I realize most people want to know, they want to feel like they know what they're doing, and I'm not that person. I want to feel the opposite.
Kayla, this is one of my favorite wine glasses. I think it's $5 at IKEA. It's not fancy. It's fantastic.
I'll just interject. Whatever holds liquid is fine as a wine glass.
Thank you, Beth.
I felt like I was wrong, and now and thank you. I've gotten so much out of this evening. This is great. So science things. So I wanted to use these coins. So I'm going to tilt down the camera so we can kind of see a little bit of the table. So these are some copper coins. They're actually very, very old British currency. They are not current anymore. Don't try to spend them. I won't tell you I learned the hard way. There are 4 of these copper coins, and copper is really cool because of its properties. Specifically, it has a very high melting point, which is what we're going to attempt to do right now. And the idea is that hopefully with just a bit of body heat, we should be able to make one of these copper coins melt from my left hand and then appear, that's the magic term, but really it's just sort of back together in my right hand. So that's the goal. So Beth, can you do me a favor? Can you just confirm how many copper coins do you see in my left hand?
There are 4.
Thank you very much. Okay, watch very close. We should just be able to heat the coins up slightly. Did you see it? Because if you look here, there were 4. 1, 2, 3 in the left hand. I'm gonna do it again. Okay, look, so there's 1. I'm just gonna go until we've done all of them. There's 2 and there's 3. So once again, how many do you see?
There are 3.
Fantastic, and 1 there. And this one's cool because it's just a little heat. You should actually be able to hear it. There's 2 there and 2 there. Yeah, you look either very skeptical or terrified. I'm not sure which one.
I'm just mind blown. I'm like, what's going on?
I think the thing for me is I just hope that everyone who's watching this tonight is watching the pure joy of me being like 6 years old on my face, because I love magic so much, and the people who do it, including yourself, Kayla, you devote so much time and attention and love to this craft. Just like whiskey makers, just like winemakers, you have given of yourself to be good at this, and it's quite impressive.
Thank you. Should I keep going?
Sure. Let's keep going.
I was like, I couldn't tell if you were like, let's stop here. That's great. Thank you. Here, we'll go. So 2 in here, 2 in here. What's really cool about this one is this one actually melts very quickly. It's 3 in the right hand there. This is fun for really, at this point, slightly just me, but I'm glad you're all on board. Here, we'll make this, because you're not in the room, it's obviously, you could think that I'm doing something strange. So where I'm gonna use my little mason jar, and we'll actually make this incredibly impossible. So it might be slightly difficult to see, but there are 4 coins, 4 copper coins just there. I'm not going to touch them any longer. I'm just gonna use the glass to nicely stack them on top of each other. So there's no way I could get in or out, yeah? So Beth, since you've been so perfect helping with this one, can you do me a favor? Could you just, imagine you're in the room.
Yep.
Could you pretend to pluck one of the copper coins out of here, make it melt with your body heat, and make it congeal in my left hand?
Okay. Well,
Did you do?
it's matrixy, so we'll see.
Yeah,
I'm picking it up,
great.
taking it over, and I'm dropping it in your hand.
Ooh, ooh. Did you feel it?
Yeah.
Yeah, look.
What?
And that should mean we have 1, 2, 3 copper coins under the glass. Here, we'll do it reverse because we can. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 copper coins. This time I will remove 1 and I'll place the other 3 under the glass. Now this time, Beth, if you could do me a favor, do exactly the same thing, but from my hand to the glass.
Okay. So once again, in matrix style,
Uh-huh.
I'm picking it up from your hand.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm dropping it in the glass.
Oh, that was good. That one was quick, because if you see, there's nothing in this hand, which means we should have 4 under the glass.
That's amazing.
What's actually fun, just the final moment here, what's probably the coolest part about any sort of like a copper currency is that you can gather all 4 up, and then with just a little body heat, they can completely vanish. The end.
I can't.
This is mine. Yeah, I'm utterly astounded. I mean, in the best sense. Like
I mean, much like your wine pairings, Beth. The next person who is appearing on the live cast has a heavy load to carry to top this kind of thing. I mean, Kayla, this is fantastic.
This was amazing.
Yeah, truly. But we are, and I hate to say this, we are running long. So I am going to slowly but surely take us offline. Guys, I hope this has been a pleasure for you. It's been a pleasure for me. Before we go tonight, I just personally have to say, with the people that have joined me tonight here on the long and short of it, I just want to raise a glass to Ruth Bader Ginsburg. The reason for this is that we found out about her passing the day after our last episode. And I just think it's one of those times that it's important to really acknowledge when someone surpasses not only the life that could have been assigned to them, but rises to the occasion of being a hero for a huge group of people, and someone to really admire as embodying everything that I hope our country can be. So may her memory be a blessing. We miss you, Ruth, and cheers to both a talented advanced sommelier and a talented magician. Thank you for joining me tonight. So this is that time that I have to close down everybody's camera. And can I do this?
Can we tell people where to buy everything?
Yes, ma'am, please do. Let's talk for just 1 second. Basically, the Dalmores that we're going to be showcasing at the beginning of this are widely available. We had the 12 last week, the 15 this week. You can find them on Reserve Bar, Drizzly, or at any of your local spirits stores. But yeah, Beth, like, where is a good place to find this incredible Pinot Noir?
You can go straight to the Talbot Winery homepage. And also through there, you can buy some of their basically the winery only wines that are exceptional as well. So you can go there, you can go to Drizzly, Total Wine, and support your local wine shops as well. If they don't carry it, you can usually request it and they'll bring it in.
I love that. I have to tell you, I personally had to call the winery earlier this week for a question, and they were just absolutely lovely. They were so kind. They were so informative. They're really good folks.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, Beth, I hate to pull you away from the vineyard behind you, but I'm going to close down for the evening. So guys, that leaves only me, which means that we are about to showcase the very end of our show. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope for those who stuck in for the late night, we're only about 10 minutes past, so we'll see how it goes in the upcoming weeks. But basically, we are returning next Thursday night with a super fine surprise guest who also happens to work in wine. And then we're returning past that on, I think, October 8th for our special late night episode. This is going to be an episode that's going to be airing deep into the evening hours for my East Coast friends. The part of that is because it's going to be a spooky episode celebrating ghosts and ghouls. So on that note, I am going to bring us to a close, and I hope you have the best night ever. Thank you so much for joining us, and good night.